The golden chandeliers sparkled like 1,000 tiny suns above the hall of Royal Orchid Hotel, one of the most expensive places in Lagos. Rows of white roses lined the aisle. Guests dressed in head-turning lace and satin outfits filled the chairs, fanning themselves gently while whispering. Cameras were mounted, media banners rolled, and the hum of excitement filled the air. It was supposed to be the wedding of the year. Daniel Thomas stood near the altar in a tailored navy blue suit, the edges of his shirt cuffs peeking out just right. At 33, he was every inch the perfect Nigerian groom, tall, handsome, and calm. His family, the Thomases, were known across the state. Old money, clean name, class. Daniel had built his own name, though. A successful architect with a gentle voice and a brilliant mind. His firm had designed half of the newest estates in Lekki. But right now, standing before a full church and blinking into the spotlights, he felt like a hollow man. Something wasn't right. He had been waiting 4 to 5 minutes. His best man, Kelvin, leaned in and whispered, "Guy, maybe she's just nervous. Brides delay sometimes. You know, all these lashes and hair, it takes time." Daniel smiled weakly, but his heart was doing something strange. Not racing, just pausing. Then his mother, Mrs. Angela Thomas, walked briskly down the aisle, her face sharp with concern. "Daniel," she hissed, tugging his arm, "come with me now." He followed her to a side room behind the stage. The bridal changing room. There, Melissa's gown still hung untouched on a hanger. The beaded veil lay folded neatly on a chair. No shoes, no perfume smell, just silence and a white envelope on the vanity table. Mrs. Thomas snatched it and opened it fast, reading aloud. "I'm sorry, Daniel. I can't do this. Don't come looking for me. It's better this way. Melissa." The letter dropped from her hand. Daniel blinked slowly. "What?" Kelvin burst in behind them. "Bro, what's going on? The press is asking questions. Should we delay the program or—" "Shut up," Mrs. Thomas snapped. Daniel sat down on the stool beside the vanity, his head in his hands. This was a joke, right? No, it was not. Melissa had left. Left him. At the altar, on live TV. Downstairs, in the service corridor of the hotel kitchen, Amelia Jones balanced a tray of wine cups on her arm as she weaved through the waitstaff. She was 25, looked tired but still pretty. Hair tucked in a net, low shoes, apron loosely tied over her fitted black gown. Amelia had been on her feet since 5 a.m. This wasn't the life she planned for herself. But life didn't ask for permission. She never met her real parents. Grew up in one crowded orphanage after another. Dropped out of school after WAEC. White dud jobs. Waitress at weddings. It was just another day. "Table 11 needs refill," her supervisor barked. "Then let table 11 come and refill it themselves," Amelia muttered under her breath, walking off. She wasn't disrespectful. She was just tired and honest, the kind of honesty that didn't hide in smiles. But as she stepped into the hallway leading to the main ballroom, she paused. Something was happening. Guests were standing. Whispers were spreading. Phones were recording. And then she saw him, Daniel, being pulled by an older woman. His face was pale, eyes lost. Something about his walk said everything. Amelia exhaled. She left him. Backstage, Daniel stood staring at the wooden wall panel. Kelvin tried talking. His mother paced like a general. "Listen to me, Daniel," Mrs. Thomas said, gripping his arm tightly. "You cannot allow this family to become a laughing stock. Do you know how many newspapers are outside? Do you know how many cameras are here? Fix it. You must fix it." Daniel stared at her. "Fix it? She's gone." "Exactly," she hissed. "So, Replace her. Just say you changed the bride last minute. Say it was a surprise. Just find someone. Anyone. We can't lose face like this. It's politics. It's family name. I'm not marrying a ghost, Mum. You'll marry someone, she replied. Kelvin threw in, maybe we can talk to one of her cousins. Just for now. You know, sign paper, do something. Shut up, Kelvin. Daniel snapped. All of you. Just shut up. And then he turned. Standing by the doorway was Amelia, watching the drama quietly, holding a tray of napkins she had been asked to deliver. Her eyes locked with Daniel's. For a moment, nobody spoke. Then Daniel walked slowly to her, studying her face. She raised her brow. You look like you're about to say something crazy, she said. I might be, Daniel replied. What's your name? Amelia. Why? He took a deep breath. Would you marry me? Now. Just for today. I'll pay you. Amelia blinked. What? I'm serious. She looked behind him. His mother's face was frozen in disbelief. Kelvin looked like he had swallowed his tongue. Amelia folded her arms. Let me get this straight. You want me, a stranger, a broke waitress, to marry you, a rich architect, in front of all these people? Daniel nodded. I don't even have a gown, she muttered. I'll take care of that, Daniel said. You'll be saving me from the biggest embarrassment of my life. Amelia paused. How much? Daniel didn't flinch. 5 million. She dropped the tray. I'll need 2 minutes, she said, to wear lipstick. Everything Melissa had planned, the glittering chandelier, the imported roses, the guest list dripping with Lagos wealth, remained untouched. The only change was the bride. Amelia Jones, still in shock, stood behind the tall oak doors of the church, now dressed in the same white gown Melissa had abandoned. It was slightly loose at the waist, and the neckline kept slipping, but she held her head high. She wasn't sure if this was bravery or madness. Across the church, Daniel stood like a statue. His face was unreadable, too calm for someone watching his life turn into a reality TV show. The music began. The congregation rose. Gasps filled the room as Amelia walked down the aisle. The whispers were endless. Is that the waitress? What happened to Melissa? Is this a movie? But no one dared ask out loud. In Lagos society, confusion is often swallowed with champagne. Daniel didn't flinch as Amelia reached him. He simply leaned forward and whispered, "Just smile. For the cameras." Amelia forced a grin. The priest cleared his throat and began, "Dearly beloved." Minutes later, with trembling fingers and a kiss that didn't quite land on her lips, Amelia Jones became Mrs. Amelia Thomas. At the reception, the confusion became excitement. The MC, trained in crisis management, spun a new tale. Ladies and gentlemen, what a twist. Love always finds its way. A private bride switch. We celebrate the surprise of the year. The crowd erupted in polite applause, more interested in the drama than the facts. But Amelia, she was starving. She hadn't eaten since morning, and now she was being fed tiny nibbles and fake smiles from Daniel's friends. They came in waves, men in stiff agbadas, women in shiny dresses with matching headpieces that seemed to defy gravity. One of Daniel's friends, Lolu, clinked his glass and said loudly, "Daniel, you didn't tell us you had a secret fiancé hiding in your kitchen." The table laughed. Amelia smiled stiffly. Another woman, Toke, said, "Amelia, right? So, what do you do, besides being Daniel's mystery?" "I work at the hotel where this wedding almost didn't happen," Amelia said, sipping her champagne. "I clear dishes, and sometimes broken hearts." Lolu choked on his drink. Daniel's jaw tightened. Later, in the car, he muttered, "You didn't have to say that." Amelia turned to him. "You didn't have to pay me to marry you either. But here we are." Moving into Daniel's house was like entering a different universe. The house was quiet. Too quiet. The kind of silence that money buys and emptiness maintains. Amelia, used to staff quarters and thin mattresses, now had a king-size bed and marble floors. But the silence between them was worse than the cold tiles. Daniel avoided her unless they had to be seen together. Even then, his politeness felt like customer service. She, on the other hand, made no effort to act rich. She walked around barefoot. She sat on the floor while eating ogbono soup. She wore oversized t-shirts to bed, some clearly belonging to Daniel. When Daniel hosted friends, she made an effort, wore makeup, borrowed heels, watched YouTube tutorials on wine etiquette. But the strain always showed. One night, at a formal dinner, she used the wrong spoon and knocked over a glass of red wine onto the cream-colored tablecloth. The entire table froze. "Oh God," she muttered. "It's fine," Daniel said quickly, but the forced smile didn't reach his eyes. Later that night, she stood on the balcony, arms folded. Daniel came out and said, "You don't have to try so hard." "I'm not trying," she said. "I'm just existing. Your world is the one that's trying to suffocate me." There was a pause. Then he said, more softly, "It's suffocating me too." Days passed. Despite the tension, Amelia started making small changes in the house. Not to impress Daniel, just to feel human again. She cleaned the windows, rearranged the bookshelves, bought actual food instead of frozen microwave meals. Once, she fixed a faulty switch in the kitchen. "You're not here to do housework," Daniel said. "I'm not here to play trophy wife either," she replied. Bit by bit, things shifted. Daniel started sitting near her during dinner. Sometimes they'd talk. Not about anything important, just life, news, random things. One evening, he told her a joke from university, and she laughed till she choked. It was weird, easy, even, like they were building something neither of them understood. Then came the knock. A quiet Tuesday morning. Amelia was arranging clothes in the wardrobe when the maid knocked. "Madam, someone is at the gate. She says her name is Melissa." Amelia froze. Melissa stood by the gate, looking nothing like the woman who once ruled Daniel's world. Her makeup was gone. Her eyes puffy. She wore a long blue gown that clung to a visible baby bump. Daniel's hands trembled when he saw her. I needed to talk," she said. "Please, Daniel, let me explain." Amelia stood behind him, watching. "I didn't leave because I didn't love you," Melissa said. "I left because I was scared. I was confused. And I found out I was pregnant 2 weeks after I ran away." Daniel's eyes darkened. "Pregnant?" Melissa nodded. 3 months. She took his hand. "Please, Daniel, I made a mistake. A terrible mistake. But I didn't know how to come back. Until now." Amelia stepped aside. Quietly. She wasn't the jealous type. But this wasn't a small storm. It was an earthquake. Daniel sat on the couch, staring at the floor for a long time. Then, without looking up, he said, "You can stay. For now. Until we figure this out." Melissa cried, "Thank you." In the days that followed, the mansion became a pressure cooker. Melissa was polite but visibly irritated by Amelia's presence. Amelia kept her distance, but silence has its own volume. At breakfast one morning, Melissa said, "Daniel, Do you remember how you used to make pancakes with cinnamon? You made them the morning you proposed to me. Amelia quietly sipped her tea. I still crave those, Melissa added, rubbing her belly. Daniel smiled faintly. Amelia stood up. Excuse me. By the end of the week, the tension was unbearable. Melissa, glowing in pregnancy and memories. Amelia, quiet but watching everything. Daniel, stuck between past mistakes and present confusion. It had been 2 weeks since Melissa returned. 2 long, confusing weeks. The atmosphere in Daniel's lucky mansion had changed completely. It no longer felt like a home. It felt like a hospital waiting room, quiet, cold, and full of things nobody wanted to say. Melissa had taken over the guest room. She was always around now, smiling, humming to herself, cooking Daniel's favorite meals like nothing had ever happened. Amelia kept to herself. She no longer walked around barefoot or teased Daniel for his cold manners. She was distant now, polite, but different. Daniel noticed. He noticed everything, but his mind was a war zone. Melissa was pregnant, with his child. That's what she said. And Daniel, for all his wealth and logic, was caught in a fog he couldn't explain. One Friday morning, as Daniel walked out of the house to head to a meeting, he stopped in his tracks. Leaning against his black Jeep was Brian, the childhood friend who had vanished without explanation. Daniel froze. Brian looked nervous, hands in his pockets, eyes unsure. "What are you doing here?" Daniel asked, his voice low. Brian cleared his throat. "I needed to see you. You disappeared." "I know. You stopped returning my calls. For 6 months, Brian." Brian sighed and looked away. Daniel folded his arms. "So what now? You suddenly remembered I exist." "I heard Melissa came back," Brian said softly. Daniel's eyes narrowed. "And you thought what?" "That I'd throw a party." There was silence between them. Then Brian spoke again. Slowly. "Dan, that baby she's carrying, it's mine." Daniel blinked. "What?" Brian didn't repeat it. He didn't need to. Daniel felt something crack in his chest, slow and sharp, like dry wood splitting. "No," he said. "No, that can't be." She said. "I didn't plan it," Brian said. "It happened once. I was in town briefly. You two had a fight. She came crying. It was stupid, reckless. And when she found out she was pregnant, I told her to tell you the truth." Daniel stared at him. "You told her to tell me?" "Yes." Daniel laughed, a dry, tired laugh that held no joy. He looked at Brian with disbelief. "And you call yourself my friend?" "I was ashamed," Brian whispered. "That's why I left Lagos. I didn't know how to face you." Daniel turned his back, pacing like a madman. His hands ran through his hair. His suit was half unbuttoned, and his tie hung loose around his neck. "I nearly threw away a whole marriage for her," he said. "I hurt Amelia because of this." Brian was silent. Daniel turned around again. "Do you know what it feels like to sit across a dinner table from someone you trusted, someone you were willing to marry, and feel like a fool?" "I'm sorry," Brian said. Daniel laughed again. "Go home, Brian. I'll go to Melissa, but leave me out of it." That night, Daniel didn't sleep. He stood outside on the balcony, arms resting on the rail, staring into the night. The sky was cloudy, and the streetlights cast a pale yellow over the estate. From the upstairs hallway, Amelia passed by in silence, carrying a glass of water. She stopped when she saw him. He didn't look at her. "You okay?" she asked quietly. Daniel hesitated, then nodded. No. She placed the glass on the rail beside him. He glanced at her. Why haven't you left? Amelia smiled sadly. Because if I leave now, I'll walk out feeling used. And I'm tired of being used. Daniel didn't reply. He looked down at his hands. I know you don't owe me anything, Amelia continued. But I need you to know this. I never came into your life to take anything. You brought me in, and I gave you the best I could. With the money you paid me and my savings, I'll leave and try to build a life for myself outside all this drama. I really enjoyed being Mrs. Thomas, though it fake. She turned and started walking back inside. Daniel called her name. Amelia. She paused. She lied, he said, voice barely a whisper. The baby, it's not mine. Amelia slowly turned around. How do you know? She asked. Daniel looked up at her. Because the real father told me himself. Amelia blinked. Who? Daniel sighed. Brian. A long silence. Now I don't even know who I am anymore, Daniel said. Or who to trust. Amelia walked up to him slowly. Start with yourself, she said. Then maybe trust me. They stood together in silence, under the soft hum of the night. Daniel stood outside Amelia's room for over 10 minutes before knocking. He knocked like a child seeking permission, not a man used to opening doors. Come in, she said, her voice flat. Amelia sat at the edge of her bed, a small duffel bag by her feet. She hadn't packed much. She never had much to begin with. Just a few clothes. Daniel stepped in quietly. His suit was wrinkled, his eyes tired. He looked like a man who had finally stopped pretending he was okay. I'm not here to stop you, he said, but I need to say something before you leave. Amelia looked at him, then looked away. I was angry. I was confused. But mostly, I was scared. When Melissa came back, everything I thought I buried rose again. She didn't say anything. He stepped closer. You think you were Plan B. I understand why. But, Amelia, you saved me. Not just on my wedding day. Every day since then. You needed a buddy to save your pride, she said, not harshly, just honestly. I needed someone real, he said. And you, Amelia, you were the first real thing in my life in a long time. Her eyes softened, but her lips stayed still. I made mistakes, Daniel continued. Big ones. But I know love now. It's not fireworks and cameras. It's you fixing the broken switch in the hallway. It's you dancing barefoot in the living room. It's you defending yourself at dinner when my friends made fun of you. She smiled at that, despite herself. I'm not good with words, he said, but I'm learning. For you. He walked over, picked up her bag, and placed it back in the corner. Stay. Not because you pity me, but because you want to. Amelia stood. And if I don't? Daniel smiled. Then I'll keep showing up, wherever you are, until you believe I mean this. Melissa didn't go quietly. She cried, screamed, cursed. She even slapped one of the security guards as they escorted her out of Daniel's compound. But the gate closed behind her all the same. It didn't take long for the story to hit the blogs. Runaway bride returns pregnant, but it's not the groom's baby. The hashtags flew. The videos of Melissa's exit were shared, memed, mocked. Daniel's parents didn't say much. They were too embarrassed. His mother cried privately for days. His father shook his head at family meetings like someone mourning a loss. For once, Daniel didn't care about the press, or his reputation, or even his father's long, disappointed sighs. He only cared about one thing now. Amelia. It started with small things. Daniel showed up on a Sunday morning at Amelia's local church, a modest brown building with rusted gates and worn plastic chairs. He sat at the back with a cap pulled low, pretending not to know the hymns. Amelia saw him. She tried not to smile. The next weekend, he joined her charity group at the local food drive. He wore an apron and handed out rice like a pro. One of the old women mistook him for a waiter and ordered him to carry her jerry can. He did. Amelia watched from a distance, arms folded, trying not to cry or laugh. He even came home one evening, wearing bedroom slippers and chewing groundnuts. "Why the slippers?" she asked, laughing. "You once said only real men wear slippers in their own house." She shook her head. "You're ridiculous." He shrugged. "Then I'm yours." They sat on the couch that night, sharing suya and stories from their past. No cameras, no designer clothes, just two people slowly, honestly, falling in love. One night, while walking together on the estate path, Daniel stopped suddenly. "Amelia." "Yes, if I'd met you first, before Melissa, before everything, would you have said yes to marrying me?" She laughed. "I don't know. Were you wearing slippers?" He chuckled, then looked at her seriously. "I want to do this right. No pressure, no contracts, no lies, just me and you." She looked at him. "No crowds this time?" she asked. "Just your church choir and some puff-puff." She nodded. "Then yes." And there, under a streetlight, Daniel leaned in and kissed the only woman who ever truly saw him, not for his name, but for his heart. 6 months later, the sun rose gently over Lagos, painting the skies with soft pink and gold. It was the kind of morning that whispered promises of joy and peace, the perfect day to start again. Amelia stood in front of the mirror in a small, white lace dress. Her hair was held up simply with soft curls framing her face. No diamonds, no heavy makeup, just her raw, real, and glowing. She looked out the window and smiled. Instead of the grand hall or massive guest list everyone expected, Daniel had arranged something different, something special. A garden. Not just any garden. It was the one beside the old community library where Amelia used to sit every Sunday, reading books and dreaming of a life she thought she'd never have. Now, wooden chairs stood beneath a canopy of fresh flowers. Soft music played. The few guests, close friends, her church choir, Daniel's family, and a few neighbors, smiled warmly as Daniel stood in front, dressed simply in a cream suit, waiting for her. Amelia walked down the path barefoot. She didn't need shoes to feel like a bride today. When she reached him, he whispered, "You look like peace." And she whispered back, "You look like home." They held hands, and the vows began. Daniel's voice shook slightly. "I used to think second chances were for people in fairy tales, that once something breaks, it stays broken forever. But then I met you." Amelia's eyes filled with tears. "You taught me to laugh again. You brought light into a house filled with shadows. You never asked for anything, but you gave me everything." He took a deep breath. "And today, I promise, no more pretending. No more performance. Just us." They kissed, and the small crowd clapped with joy. It was perfect. Until it wasn't. Just as the ceremony ended and they were taking photos under a tree, a figure slowly walked toward them, an old man in a simple, neat, well-tailored native attire, holding a brown envelope. Everyone turned. The man's hands trembled. "Amelia," he said, voice shaking. Amelia blinked, confused. "Yes." The man's eyes filled with tears. "My daughter. My sweet baby girl. You're alive." The garden fell silent. Daniel stepped forward protectively. "Sir, who are you?" The man looked at Amelia, then slowly opened the envelope. Inside were faded photos, one of a baby with a locket, one of a young woman holding the child, and one of Amelia herself, aged 5, laughing with the same man in a hospital gown. "I'm your father," he said. "James Williams. You were taken during the riots in Kano years ago. They told me you and your mother died in the fire. But I never stopped searching." Amelia's mouth fell open. She held the photos with shaking hands. This is me. My name is not just James Williams," he continued, stepping closer. "I own Williams Energy Group. You are Amelia Williams, my only child, and half of everything I built is yours." Gasps rippled through the crowd, but Amelia didn't move. She didn't scream. She didn't ask about money or titles. She looked at Daniel. Then, slowly, she turned back to her father. "I'm sorry," she said gently. "I believe you, and I forgive the past. But I need some time to put all this together. Just a few months ago, I was a broke waitress, and now I am a billionaire's daughter getting married to the most eligible billionaire bachelor in Lagos. It's a lot for me right now." Tears rolled down her face. "I just need someone who sees me, not what I can give." The old man's eyes closed as if finally able to breathe after years of guilt. He nodded, with tears in his beard. "That's okay, my daughter." Daniel walked forward, took her hand, and said, "That's the woman I married." Later that night, the skies opened. Rain pawed gently as most guests left. But Daniel and Amelia didn't run. They stood in the garden, hand in hand, soaked and barefoot, laughing like children. No cameras, no lies, no gold crowns or oil shares. Just a man and a woman, two broken people who found something real in the most unexpected place. And this time, they weren't pretending. They were truly home. This story teaches us that even in the face of betrayal, humiliation, and chaos, there can be beauty in second chances. It reminds us that identity is not defined by background or riches, but by the choices we make, the love we give, and the truth we stand for. Sometimes, what feels like life falling apart is really life falling into place in ways we never imagined.
Thank you for watching Story Lovers. Please like, subscribe, and turn on notification bell so you can get notified whenever we drop new stories.